shy girl revealed her intimate area for an exam. But when the billionaire doctor saw, he was stunned. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into today's story. After that first meeting, Emily couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Carter. It had been a few days since their appointment, and although she tried to push him out of her mind, his calm demeanor, his kindness, and the way he looked at her lingered in her thoughts. She couldn't understand why she felt so connected to him, despite knowing nothing about him. Her life had been nothing but a constant struggle, and now here was this billionaire doctor, someone with everything at his disposal. Yet there was something about the way he made her feel seen, heard, and important. She didn't expect him to reach out again, and she definitely didn't expect him to show up at her workplace. It was a busy Thursday afternoon when he walked into the cafe. Emily was wiping down the counter when the door opened, and the soft jingle of the bell above the door made her glance up. Her heart skipped a beat when she saw him standing there, his presence commanding the room as he scanned the cafe. His dark eyes met hers, and for a moment, time seemed to stand still. She quickly turned away, focusing on her task, but she couldn't shake the feeling that he was looking at her. "Emily," Dr. Carter called out, his voice calm and smooth. Her breath caught in her throat. She looked up, surprised to see him there, standing just a few feet away, dressed casually in a dark jacket and jeans. "Dr. Carter? What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a little shaky. He smiled slightly, his eyes softening. "I wanted to thank you again for seeing me the other day. I've been thinking about our conversation." Emily felt a sudden wave of warmth flood over her. She was used to serving people who barely noticed her. So hearing Dr. Carter say that he had been thinking about her felt strange. She quickly composed herself and forced a smile. "It's no problem. It's my job. Actually, I was hoping we could talk some more," he said, his tone sincere. "Would you mind if I took a seat? I promise I'm not here to disrupt your work." She hesitated for a moment before nodding, gesturing to the empty table by the window. "Sure, I've got a break in a few minutes. You can sit there." Dr. Carter sat down and waited as Emily finished up her tasks. The cafe was quiet, the lunch rush slowing down, and Emily couldn't help but feel the tension in the air between them. She wiped her hands on her apron and walked over to the table, her nerves making her fidget with the corner of her apron. "So, what's on your mind?" she asked, sitting down across from him. "I just wanted to get to know you better," he said. "We didn't really get the chance to talk during our appointment, and I'm genuinely curious about you. About your life." Emily looked down at her hands, unsure how to respond. People didn't usually care about her life. She was just another face in the crowd. But there was something about Dr. Carter that made her want to open up, to tell him things she had never shared with anyone else. I'm just trying to make ends meet," she said, her voice quiet. "I work here. I try to keep my head above water. I have dreams of becoming an artist, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Right now, I'm just trying to survive." Dr. Carter listened intently, his expression softening as she spoke. There was no judgment in his eyes, only understanding. "I think you're doing more than surviving, Emily. You're living, and that's something a lot of people don't understand." Her heart fluttered at his words. She had never thought of it that way. To her, surviving was the only thing that mattered. "You're a doctor," she said after a moment, "and a billionaire. You could have anything, anyone you wanted. Why? Why are you even talking to me? I'm just a waitress." Dr. Carter leaned forward slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. "You're not just anything, Emily," he said gently. "I'm talking to you because you're real. Because you're kind. Because you care about things that really matter. And that's something rare in this world." His words struck her deeply, more than she cared to admit. She had never seen herself as anything special, but hearing him say those things made her question everything she believed about herself. Could it be possible that he saw something in her that no one else did? Before she could respond, the door to the cafe opened again, and the bell jingled once more. Dr. Carter glanced over, then looked back at Emily, standing up. "I have to go, but I wanted to leave you with this," he said, handing her a business card. "If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to help." She took the card, still stunned by everything that had just happened. "Thank you, Dr. Carter. I didn't expect this," she said quietly. He smiled, giving her a nod before walking out the door. Emily stood there for a moment, looking down at the business card in her hand. Was this a joke? Was he serious? She couldn't be sure, but there was one thing she knew for certain. Dr. Carter had just turned her world upside down, and she didn't know what to think anymore. The days that followed were a blur for Emily. She couldn't stop thinking about Dr. Carter, his words, the way he looked at her with such sincerity. She wasn't used to this kind of attention, especially not from someone so important. She found herself constantly looking at the business card he had given her, her fingers tracing over the embossed letters, wondering if she should reach out to him or if that would be crossing a line. Her life had been quiet, predictable, until now, and everything was beginning to feel like it was shifting under her feet. One evening, just a few days after their meeting, Emily found herself sitting in her small apartment, sketchbook open in front of her. But her mind wasn't on her art. Her phone buzzed on the table, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from an unknown number. "Emily, it's Dr. Carter. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to follow up with you and see how you're feeling. Let me know if you need anything." She stared at the message for a moment, unsure of how to respond. Should she just ignore it? Or should she take a chance and reply? It had been weeks since their last meeting, and she couldn't help but wonder why he was reaching out now. After a few seconds of hesitation, she typed back, "I'm doing okay. Thank you for checking in." Her fingers trembled as she hit send, but to her surprise, he replied almost instantly, "I'm glad to hear that. I was wondering if you'd like to meet for coffee sometime, just to talk. No pressure. I think we could both benefit from it." Emily felt a strange flutter in her chest. Coffee? Talk? She had to admit, the idea of seeing him again, in a more casual setting, intrigued her. But what would they talk about? What could she possibly say to someone like him? Despite her nerves, she replied, "Sure, I'd like that." The next day, she found herself sitting across from Dr. Carter at a quiet cafe, much like the one where they had met the first time. He was dressed casually, but there was still something commanding about the way he carried himself. Emily couldn't help but notice how natural the atmosphere felt between them, as if they were two people who had known each other for much longer than they really had. "I'm glad you agreed to meet, Doctor," Carter said, his voice warm and genuine. "I've been thinking a lot about our last conversation. I know you're going through a tough time, and I wanted to see if I could help in any way." Emily shifted in her seat, feeling a mix of confusion and gratitude. "I appreciate that," she said, her voice quiet. "But I don't know what you can do. I'm just a waitress. I'm not sure how you could possibly help me." Dr. Carter leaned forward slightly, his expression softening. "I think you're selling yourself short, Emily," he said. "You're a lot more than just a waitress. You have dreams, you have talent, you've got the kind of drive that can take you far. But sometimes, we all need a little help along the way." Emily looked down at her hands, unsure of what to say. His words hit her hard, but she didn't know how to respond. She had always felt like she was stuck in a cycle, constantly working, constantly struggling, with no real way out. But here was this man, who could have anything in the world, telling her that she had potential. "I don't know if I'm cut out for it," she finally admitted. "I've been struggling for so long. I've been so focused on surviving, I don't know how to start living." Dr. Carter's eyes softened as he listened to her, his gaze never leaving hers. "That's exactly why I wanted to meet you today," he said gently. "You don't have to do it alone. No one should have to do it alone. And you're not alone, Emily. You have people who care about you, people who believe in you." His words were like a balm on her bruised heart. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt a glimmer of hope. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about finding a way to truly live. "I don't know what to do next," she whispered, looking up at him. "I don't even know where to start." Dr. Carter smiled gently. "The first step is always the hardest, but I'm here to help you take it. Whatever you need, Emily, I'm here for you." In that moment, something shifted between them. It wasn't just about medical care anymore. It was about something deeper, something more profound. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. For the first time in her life, she felt like she had someone in her corner, someone who truly cared. As they finished their coffee and talked about everything and nothing, Emily felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in a long time. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time, she didn't feel like she had to face it alone. As the weeks passed, Emily found herself thinking more and more about Dr. Carter and their conversations. She couldn't deny that something had changed inside her. He had given her a glimpse of what her life could be like if she allowed herself to believe in something more than just surviving. His words echoed in her mind, urging her to believe in her dreams, to take the first step toward something bigger. It wasn't easy. Every day, she still worked long hours at the cafe, dealing with difficult customers and barely scraping by. But little by little, she started to feel the weight of her past struggles lifting, replaced by a sense of hope she hadn't felt before. Dr. Carter kept in touch with her regularly, checking in to see how she was doing, offering encouragement when she felt like giving up. She was surprised by how much his words meant to her, how much she looked forward to their occasional coffee meetings. During one of their meetings, as they sat across from each other at the same cafe, Dr. Carter asked her something that made her heart race. "Emily," he said, his voice calm yet full of concern, "have you thought more about your art? You've mentioned before that you wanted to open your own studio. What's holding you back?" She felt a tight knot form in her stomach. She had thought about it, of course, but the fear of failure, of not being good enough, had always held her back. "I'm not sure," she replied softly, avoiding his gaze. I'm not sure if I'm ready. I don't know if I have what it takes." "Doctor?" Carter smiled, his eyes filled with understanding. "I think you're more ready than you realize. Sometimes, we don't need to have everything figured out. We just need to take that first step, no matter how small it is." His words hit her like a ton of bricks, and for a moment, she just sat there, lost in thought. What was she waiting for? Why was she so afraid to take that first step? She had always dreamed of becoming an artist, but somewhere along the way, fear had silenced her voice. "Maybe you're right," Emily said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "But it feels like such a big leap. I don't know if I can do it on my own." "Doctor." Carter leaned forward slightly, his expression softening. "You don't have to do it alone, Emily. You have me, and you have yourself. That's enough." His words comforted her in a way she couldn't explain. And for the first time in a long time, Emily felt like she was standing on the edge of something new, something exciting. That night, after their meeting, Emily went home and thought long and hard about what Dr. Carter had said. She took out her sketchbook, something she hadn't touched in months, and started to draw again. It wasn't much, just a simple sketch of a scene that had been in her mind for a while, but it was enough to remind her of who she was before all the doubts and fears had taken over. She realized in that moment that maybe she wasn't as lost as she thought. Maybe she had been waiting for someone else to believe in her before she could believe in herself. But now, she knew she didn't need anyone's approval. She had to take that leap for herself. The next few days were a whirlwind of new possibilities. Emily started looking into art galleries, searching for spaces where she could eventually showcase her work. She researched everything, from how to open a small business to finding the right materials to create her art. It felt overwhelming at times, but she was determined to keep going. One afternoon, as she was heading out of the cafe for a break, she ran into Dr. Carter again. This time, he was just leaving his office, and he looked as though he had been working nonstop. "Hey," she said, smiling as she approached him. "How's everything going?" He smiled back, his usual calm demeanor still intact. "Busy as always, but good. How about you? How's the art coming along?" Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest. She couldn't believe how much she was looking forward to talking to him about her progress. "Actually, I've been thinking about it a lot," she said, her eyes lighting up. "I've started doing some sketches again, and I'm looking into opening a studio. It's still in the early stages, but I think it's happening." Dr. Carter's eyes brightened as he heard her words. "That's amazing, Emily. I'm really proud of you. You're taking action, and that's the hardest part. I know you can do it." She couldn't help but smile at his encouragement. It felt good to have someone like him in her corner, someone who believed in her when she didn't even believe in herself. But as much as she appreciated his support, she knew she had a long road ahead. She had to face her fears, push through the doubts, and take the leap into the unknown. And maybe, just maybe, she could finally live the life she had always dreamed of. As she walked away, her heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. She wasn't sure where this new path would take her, but for the first time, she was excited to find out. The following weeks brought new challenges for Emily, but also a sense of excitement she had never felt before. She had taken Dr. Carter's words to heart, and despite her lingering doubts, she pressed forward with her plans to pursue her art. Each day, she carved out time to sketch, and with every new drawing, she felt her confidence grow. She started looking for small galleries where she could potentially exhibit her work, researching what it would take to start her own creative space. It was a slow process, but the momentum was there, and for the first time, Emily felt like she was in control of her future. She kept in touch with Dr. Carter, updating him on her progress, and every time they spoke, his support made her believe in herself a little more. One evening, after a particularly long shift at the cafe, Emily sat down at her small kitchen table, sipping tea and staring at her latest sketch. The light from the street lamp outside flickered through the window, casting long shadows across her apartment. It was quiet, peaceful, and for the first time in a while, she felt content. Her phone buzzed, snapping her out of her thoughts. It was a message from Dr. Carter. "I've been thinking about our last conversation, and I want to help you make this happen. How about we meet up for dinner tomorrow night? I know a great place where we can talk more about your plans." Emily felt a rush of emotions. Dinner with Dr. Carter? It wasn't the first time they had met outside of the cafe, but this felt different. He had always been kind, supportive, and encouraging, but this time, she felt like it was more than just a friendly gesture. A part of her wondered if this was the moment he was going to tell her something she wasn't ready to hear. Still, she agreed, sending back a simple, "I'd love that," before setting the phone down. The next evening, Emily arrived at the restaurant a little early, her nerves getting the better of her. She had chosen a simple dress that made her feel comfortable yet confident. As she stepped inside, the warm ambiance of the restaurant greeted her, with soft lighting and the faint sound of jazz music filling the air. Dr. Carter was already there, seated at a table by the window. He looked up as she approached, his expression softening into a smile that immediately put her at ease. "Emily, it's good to see you," he said, standing up to pull out the chair for her. "Please, have a seat." She smiled, a bit shy as she sat down. "Thanks for inviting me. This place looks amazing." "I'm glad you like it. It's one of my favorites," he replied, his voice calm as always. "I've been meaning to ask you, how are things going with your art? Have you found a space to work yet?" Emily took a deep breath, feeling a flutter of excitement in her chest. She had worked so hard, but it felt good to finally talk about it. "Actually, yes. I've been looking at some places, and I think I found one that would be perfect. It's small, but it's got character. It's not much yet, but it's a start." Dr. Carter's eyes lit up, and a genuine smile spread across his face. "That's fantastic, Emily. I knew you had it in you. You're taking all the right steps." The words filled her with a warmth she hadn't realized she needed. She had worked so long and hard to get to this point, and hearing him say that meant more than she could express. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "I honestly don't know if I could have done it without your encouragement. I've been so scared of failing, but you've made me believe that it's okay to take a chance." "Doctor?" Carter looked at her for a long moment, his gaze steady and full of kindness. "You're not alone in this, Emily. I'll always be here to help, whether it's with advice or just someone to talk to." His words stirred something deep inside her, a feeling she hadn't expected. She realized in that moment that it wasn't just his support that made her feel so strongly, it was something more, something she had been feeling for a while now but hadn't fully acknowledged. She wasn't sure where it would lead, but she knew she was beginning to care about him in a way she hadn't planned on. "I really appreciate that," she said quietly, her heart racing as she met his gaze. The evening passed in a blur of laughter, shared stories, and moments that felt surprisingly intimate. Emily was surprised by how comfortable she felt with him, and as the night wore on, she found herself opening up in ways she hadn't with anyone in years. When they parted ways, Dr. Carter walked her to the door of her apartment, and as they said goodbye, He gave her a brief but warm hug. "I'm proud of you, Emily. I know you'll do great things," he said, his voice low and sincere. "Just remember, you don't have to rush. Take it one step at a time." She smiled up at him, feeling a mix of gratitude and something more. "Thank you, Dr. Carter. I won't forget that." As she closed the door behind her, she leaned against it, her heart racing. She had come so far in such a short amount of time, and while she knew there was still a long way to go, she no longer felt as alone as she once had. Dr. Carter had shown her a way forward, but now, she was beginning to realize that it wasn't just about her dreams, it was about her heart, too. As the days went by, Emily felt herself growing more and more confident. Her art studio was starting to take shape. She had found a small, affordable space downtown, just as she had imagined, and she was in the process of turning it into a place where she could finally bring her creative visions to life. The walls were painted a soft, calming color, and she had started collecting the supplies she would need for her first few projects. It wasn't much yet, but it was hers, and that was all that mattered. Throughout this journey, Dr. Carter had been there, offering words of encouragement and support whenever she needed them. He had become more than just a mentor to her. He had become a constant presence in her life. She could feel their connection growing stronger with each passing day. But as much as she appreciated his guidance, she also felt something else, something deeper. She tried to ignore it, telling herself that she was just getting caught up in the excitement of it all. But it was impossible to deny that her feelings for him were growing. One afternoon, after a particularly long day at the studio, Emily received a text from Dr. Carter. "Hey Emily, I hope you're doing well. Would you like to grab dinner tonight? I'd love to catch up and see how things are going." Her heart skipped a beat. A dinner with Dr. Carter? She had been so focused on her work and her progress that she hadn't allowed herself to think about anything else. But now, the idea of spending time with him outside of their usual meetings seemed more than just a casual dinner. Still, she couldn't bring herself to say no. She replied, "I'd love that. How about 7 p.m. at that restaurant we went to last time?" He quickly agreed, and they made plans to meet later that evening. As the time approached, Emily found herself feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. She had seen Dr. Carter plenty of times by now, but tonight felt different. Maybe it was the way her heart raced whenever she thought about him. Or maybe it was the fact that she had started to realize just how much he meant to her. When she arrived at the restaurant, she spotted him right away. He was already seated at the same table by the window, and as soon as he saw her, he stood up with a smile. "You look great, Emily," he said, his voice warm and sincere. "Thank you," she replied, her cheeks flushing slightly. She had put more thought into her appearance than usual, wanting to look nice for him, though she didn't quite know why. She sat down across from him, and they quickly slipped into their usual comfortable conversation. As they talked about her art, the progress she had made, and the challenges she was still facing, Emily couldn't help but notice the way Dr. Carter looked at her. His gaze was different tonight, gentler, more focused. It was as if he was seeing her in a new light. And for the first time, Emily wondered if he felt the same way she did. As the evening wore on, the conversation naturally shifted to more personal topics. Dr. Carter asked her about her childhood, about her dreams, and about what she wanted out of life. Emily opened up to him in a way she hadn't with anyone else, sharing her deepest fears, her hopes for the future, and her struggle to find her place in the world. It was a conversation that felt so intimate, so real, that Emily couldn't help but feel vulnerable. But Dr. Carter's response was exactly what she needed. He listened, really listened, and when she finished speaking, he gave her a reassuring smile. "You're stronger than you think, Emily," he said softly. "I've always believed in you, and I always will." His words were simple, but they hit her like a wave, washing away all the doubt and uncertainty she had carried for so long. For the first time in years, she felt truly understood. As the evening came to a close, Dr. Carter walked her out to her car. The night air was cool, and the city lights twinkled around them. For a moment, neither of them spoke, both content in the silence. Finally, Dr. Carter turned to her, his expression serious. "Emily," he began, his voice low, "I've been thinking a lot about you lately, more than I probably should. And I don't know if you feel the same way, But I have to be honest with you, what I feel for you is more than just friendship or mentorship. I care about you. A lot." Emily's breath caught in her throat. She had been trying to push her own feelings aside, not wanting to complicate things. But now, hearing him say it out loud, it felt like everything had shifted. She began, but her words faltered. She didn't know what to say. What if she felt the same way? What if this was the moment everything changed? She looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. "I think I care about you too," she finally whispered. Dr. Carter smiled, a look of relief and happiness washing over his face. "I'm glad to hear that," he said, his voice soft and sincere. "I don't know where this will go, but I'm willing to take the journey with you, if you're ready." Emily felt a rush of emotions, excitement, fear, hope, but most of all, she felt like she had finally found something real, something worth fighting for. She smiled back at him, feeling a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. "I'm ready," she said quietly, knowing that whatever the future held, they would face it together. As the weeks passed, Emily and Dr. Carter's relationship continued to grow. What had started as a professional connection had blossomed into something more, something real. They spent more time together, both in and out of the studio. Emily found herself looking forward to their coffee dates and evening dinners, where they would talk about everything from art to their hopes for the future. Dr. Carter was always there to offer encouragement, and with each passing day, she felt more confident about her art and about the direction her life was taking. The small studio she had started in downtown was becoming a hub of creativity, and her dreams of one day opening her own gallery began to feel like a real possibility. However, despite everything going well in her professional life, Emily couldn't shake the unease she felt about her personal life. She had never been in a relationship like this before, one where she felt so seen, so understood, but also one that stirred feelings inside her that she hadn't expected. She had always been afraid of getting too close to someone, afraid of opening her heart, especially after all the struggles she had been through. But Dr. Carter was different. He never rushed her or pushed her to open up before she was ready. His patience and kindness had won her over, and though she still held on to some fear, she knew deep down that he wasn't like the people she had known in the past. One evening, after a particularly long day of painting, Emily found herself sitting alone in her studio. The room was quiet, save for the faint hum of the city outside. Her mind raced as she thought about Dr. Carter and how much he had come to mean to her. She thought about the words he had said that night, how he had expressed his feelings for her. She had been so afraid to say it back, but now, sitting there alone, she realized how much she cared for him, too. As she sat there, her phone buzzed with a message from him. "Hey, Emily, I was wondering if you'd like to go away for the weekend, just the two of us. I think it would be good for both of us to get some time away and focus on what really matters. Let me know what you think." Emily's heart skipped a beat. A weekend getaway with Dr. Carter? The thought made her nervous, but in a way, it also filled her with excitement. She had never really taken the time to escape her routine, to step away from everything that weighed her down. Maybe this was the opportunity she needed to truly confront her feelings and see where things with Dr. Carter could go. She quickly typed a response. "I think that sounds perfect. I'd love to go with you." The next weekend, Emily found herself driving out of the city, headed for a quiet lakeside cabin that Dr. Carter had rented for the two of them. As they arrived, Emily couldn't help but be struck by the peacefulness of the place. The cabin was surrounded by towering trees, and the lake shimmered under the soft light of the setting sun day. It felt like the perfect escape, a place where she could let go of all the pressure and just be herself. Dr. Carter was already there, unloading their bags from the car. He smiled at her as she stepped out, and the warmth in his expression made her feel at ease. They spent the weekend hiking, cooking meals together, and enjoying each other's company in a way that felt completely different from their usual busy lives. Emily felt a sense of calm that she hadn't felt in a long time. There was something about the simplicity of the weekend that allowed her to finally open up, to let down the walls she had built around herself. One night, after dinner, they sat on the porch, overlooking the lake. The air was cool, and the sound of the water lapping against the shore created a peaceful backdrop for their conversation. Dr. Carter turned to her, his expression soft, and said, "Emily, I've been thinking a lot about us, about where this is going. I know we're taking things slow, and I respect that, but I want you to know that I care about you more than I've ever cared about anyone. I want to be with you, if you're ready." Emily's heart raced as she looked at him. His words were exactly what she needed to hear, but at the same time, they brought up the very fears she had tried to avoid. She had never allowed herself to fully trust someone, to let someone in. But sitting there, with Dr. Carter, she knew that this was different. She had to take a leap, just as she had with her art. "I care about you too, more than I realized," she said softly, her voice steady but her heart pounding. "I'm just afraid of opening up and getting hurt. But I think I'm ready to take that chance with you." Dr. Carter smiled, his eyes shining with tenderness. "You don't have to be afraid. We'll take it one step at a time, together." And in that moment, Emily knew that she was ready to step into the future, not just with her art, but with Dr. Carter by her side. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was on the right path, and she wasn't alone. As they sat there in the quiet of the night, Emily knew that this was just the beginning of something beautiful, something real, and something worth fighting for. As the weeks passed, Emily and Dr. Carter's relationship deepened. They had faced their fears and were learning to embrace the future together, step by step. Emily's art studio was thriving, and she had started to exhibit some of her work in local galleries. She couldn't believe how far she had come in such a short amount of time. What had once felt like a distant dream was now a reality. But as much as her professional life was falling into place, her personal life was beginning to take a new shape as well. With Dr. Carter, things felt different, more meaningful than she ever expected. He was her rock, and his unwavering support gave her the strength to face whatever came her way. One evening, after spending the entire day working on a new painting, Emily received a message from Dr. Carter. "Hey Emily, I was wondering if you'd like to join me for a special event next weekend. It's a charity gala, and I'd love for you to be my guest." Emily felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. A gala? She had never been to an event like that before, and the thought of going with Dr. Carter made it even more special. She quickly replied, "I'd love to. Thank you for inviting me." The night of the gala arrived, and Emily couldn't help but feel a mix of nerves and excitement. She had never been to such a formal event before, and the idea of being in the spotlight alongside Dr. Carter made her feel both honored and anxious. She stood in front of her mirror, adjusting the dress she had carefully chosen for the occasion. It was elegant, yet simple, a reflection of the woman she had become. As she looked at herself, she realized how much she had grown. She wasn't the same shy girl she had been when she first met Dr. Carter. She had learned to stand tall, to embrace her worth, and to trust in herself. When she arrived at the gala, Dr. Carter was already waiting for her by the entrance. He looked effortlessly handsome in his black tuxedo. And when he saw her, his eyes lit up with admiration. "Emily, you look stunning," he said, taking her hand and leading her inside. Emily smiled, feeling her heart race at his words. There was something about the way he looked at her that made her feel more confident than she ever had before. As the evening unfolded, Emily found herself swept into a world she had never imagined. The grand ballroom was filled with influential people, each one more impressive than the last. But despite the glamour and the glitz, all Emily could focus on was Dr. Carter by her side. He was her anchor, her source of calm in the midst of it all. They spent the night talking, laughing, and sharing stories. And as the evening wore on, Emily began to realize just how much Dr. Carter had become a part of her life. At one point during the gala, Dr. Carter led Emily out onto the balcony. The city lights twinkled in the distance, and the cool breeze brushed against their faces. They stood there in silence for a moment, enjoying the view, before Dr. Carter turned to her. "Emily," he began, his voice soft and serious, "I need to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot about us, and I want you to know that I am more certain than ever that I want to be with you. I've never felt this way about anyone, and I can't imagine my life without you in it." Emily's heart skipped a beat as she looked into his eyes. She had known this moment was coming, but now that it was here, she felt a rush of emotions, excitement, fear, and most of all, a sense of peace. She had found someone who truly understood her, who saw her for who she was, and who cared for her with a depth that she never thought possible. "I feel the same way," she whispered, her voice barely audible as she took his hand. I never imagined that I could feel this way. But with you, I know I've found something real, something worth fighting for." Dr. Carter smiled, a look of pure joy on his face as he gently cupped her face in his hands. "Emily, I promise you, I'm here for the long haul. We've both come a long way, and together, we can make anything happen." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she realized that she had found her person, someone who would support her, love her, and walk alongside her as they both created the lives they had always dreamed of. The night ended with a quiet walk under the stars, the weight of their shared words settling between them like a promise. For the first time in a long time, Emily felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. Her journey was far from over, but with Dr. Carter by her side, she knew she could face whatever the future held. They were no longer just two people trying to make it through life. They were partners, ready to take on the world together, hand in hand. Months passed, and Emily's life began to feel like a dream she never thought possible. The art studio she had started from scratch was flourishing, attracting more attention from the art community than she could have ever imagined. Her works were being featured in multiple galleries, and she was even offered the chance to host her own solo exhibition. As for her relationship with Dr. Carter, it had grown into something deeper than either of them had expected. They had become inseparable, supporting each other through both the challenges and joys of life. Their connection was undeniable, and with each passing day, Emily found herself falling more in love with him. Dr. Carter was everything she had ever wanted in a partner, kind, patient, and understanding. But more than that, he had shown her what it meant to truly be seen and loved for who she was, not just as an artist or a woman, but as Emily. The trust they had built with each other had created a foundation that felt unshakable. One evening, after a quiet dinner at the studio, Dr. Carter turned to Emily, a serious look on his face. "Emily, I know we've been through a lot together, and we've both come so far. But I need to ask you something. Something that's been on my mind for a while now," he said, his voice soft, but filled with sincerity. Emily felt a flutter of nerves in her stomach. She had no idea what he was about to say, but she could tell it was important. "What is it?" she asked, her voice gentle. Dr. Carter took a deep breath before continuing. "I've been thinking about our future, about where this is all headed. I know we've both grown a lot, and I want to keep growing with you. I want us to build a life together, Emily. You've become my everything, and I can't imagine my life without you. Will you marry me?" Emily's heart stopped for a moment, the world around her suddenly feeling like it had shifted. She had never imagined this moment happening, but now that it was here, she knew without a doubt that she wanted to spend the rest of her life with him. Tears welled up in her eyes as she looked at him, her chest tight with emotion. "Yes," she whispered, barely able to get the word out. "Yes, I will marry you." Dr. Carter smiled, his eyes full of joy and relief. He pulled her into a tight embrace, holding her close as if he never wanted to let go. "I love you so much, Emily," he said softly, his voice filled with warmth. "I'm so grateful for you, for everything we've shared, and for everything that's to come." "I love you too," Emily whispered, her heart overflowing with happiness. "I never imagined this kind of love, but now that I have it, I know I'll never let it go." They stood there for a long moment, wrapped in each other's arms, both knowing that they had found something truly special. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of excitement and joy. They talked about their future, about the life they wanted to build together. Emily couldn't believe how far she had come from the shy girl struggling to make ends meet to the confident woman standing at the beginning of a new chapter with the man she loved. The next few weeks were filled with planning and preparations, but Emily couldn't stop smiling. The thought of marrying Dr. Carter, of sharing her life with him, filled her with a happiness she had never known. On their wedding day, Emily stood in front of the mirror, her wedding dress a perfect fit, and her heart full of anticipation. The ceremony was small but intimate, surrounded by close friends and family who had supported them along the way. When Dr. Carter saw her walking down the aisle, his eyes filled with emotion, and Emily knew that this was the moment her life had been leading up to. As they exchanged vows, Emily couldn't hold back the tears. She promised to love, honor, and cherish him for the rest of her life, and Dr. Carter did the same. Their love had already been tested in so many ways, but standing there together, they knew they were stronger than ever. After the ceremony, as they danced under the stars, Emily couldn't help but reflect on how far she had come. She had taken a chance on love, on her dreams, and on herself, and it had all led her to this moment. She wasn't just the woman who had struggled to make ends meet. She was the woman who had found love, success, and happiness in the most unexpected places. As Dr. Carter twirled her across the dance floor, Emily knew that this was only the beginning of their journey. Together, they would face whatever life had in store, hand in hand, ready to build the life they had always dreamed of. The future was uncertain, but one thing was for sure: Emily and Dr. Carter would face it together, as partners, as lovers, and as best friends. Millionaire stories often captivate us with their twists of fate, and this tale is no different. A young woman struggling to make ends meet finds herself unexpectedly thrust into the world of a billionaire doctor, and their lives intertwine in the most beautiful of ways. As their connection grows, she not only finds love, but also discovers the strength to pursue her dreams of becoming an artist. These millionaire stories show that even the most ordinary person can find success and happiness in the most unexpected places. With every challenge they face together, they build a bond that proves love, trust, and determination can change everything. Through the ups and downs of life, she learns that sometimes taking a leap of faith is all it takes to transform your future. And this is a perfect example of how millionaire stories can inspire us to pursue what we once thought impossible. From their initial encounter to the moment they decide to spend their lives together, this millionaire story reveals the power of believing in yourself and having someone who believes in you too. These millionaire stories are more than just tales of wealth. They are stories of personal growth, love, and transformation. And this one proves that anything is possible when you have the courage to follow your heart.